Welcome to the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Spear. So here, we're going to talk about gear, grit, and the kind of stories you only get around a fire. It's all about learning, adapting, and keeping your faith strong. So whether you're a seasoned outdoorsman or just looking to unplug and reconnect, you're in the right place. So pull up a chair by the fire and let's get into it.
All right, welcome back to the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft Podcast. And today, since I have a week before we launch the freeze-dried camping meals, the Primitive Camping Rations, today I figured we'd talk about calories, talk about some food, talk about one of the things that a lot of people overlook whenever they're heading out into the great outdoors. And I, including myself, I've done it before on several of my trips, but I'm coming to you from underneath the tarp at Camp What the Heck on a very muggy fall day. It is very muggy and it is very hot. It is windy, it's sunny, and then it's raining. Go figure. All three of the seasons all in one day. So now, if you've been out into the woods for more than a day or two, you already know that food out there seems to operate a whole lot different than it does whenever you're at the house, whenever you're at the comfort of your own home, or whenever you're doing your daily routines and stuff like that. Food in the great outdoors, and food in general, is energy, and it helps with your focus, your concentration, your morale, all in one. I mean, it just all wraps up into one thing. Now, you can have the best gear. You can have the perfect camp setup. But if your body runs out of fuel, everything else is going to fall apart. And that is so true. So, right here in the book, you can see all my pages are blowing around everywhere here today. You got on page 182... We all have our go-to foods when we're in the comfort of our own homes. But when heading into the wilderness, a little outside of the box thinking is sometimes required. There are more things you could do to prepare before you go, even if you're planning to procure all your food while you're camping. For example, you could bring items such as flavor packets and seasoning to augment or enhance what you already have. No need to eat flavorless foods just because you're out in the woods and you're camping. When you're planning to travel several miles into the wild, food becomes a major consideration for two main reasons. One, food is heavy. Food can be heavy and it can be a drag, but you need it to survive. Calories equals energy. During my time in the military, I ate more MREs, meals ready to eat, than I can count. Sometimes they were good, sometimes they were horrible, but the fact is they provided more than 2,000 calories apiece. Sometimes we would eat 3 of them a day, so we'd go through 6,000 calories a day, but you needed it in the austere environments that we worked in. When you're in a situation where you're expending a lot of calories, you have to be able to replenish them. Activities such as rock climbing, hiking over plenty of hills, swimming or canoeing, kayaking, they all require you to expend a lot of energy. And if you're not replacing those calories, you're going to get exhausted in no time. Trust me, your energy levels will get used up very quickly when primitive camping. But instead of explaining why you need food, which you likely already know this, let's explore how to ensure you have enough when you need it. All right, so then after that, we go through the dehydrated foods, the freeze-dried foods, just add water, prepackaged and procured foods and stuff. And that's all in the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft book on page 182. I just read that out of there. And so now we're going to dive into meal planning for the field. How to plan smart, what people get wrong, and a few hard lessons that I've learned over the years. Then at the end, I'm going to tie it into something a little bit deeper, something about how, God provides what we need when we need it. So let's turn the page, so to speak, and let's start right here. Most people underestimate how much they've burned in the woods, how many calories they've burned in the woods. A lot of people really underestimate that. So what I mean by underestimate is you're moving more, you're carrying more, and you're working in conditions that your body isn't used to. Even something as simple as, trying to stay warm in cold weather can burn hundreds of extra calories. When you're shivering, you're burning calories. When you're trying to keep warm, you're burning calories. You're constantly burning calories. And if I keep hitting this table, you guys are going to be like, what's he doing? But when I first started doing longer bushcraft trips, primitive camping trips, I'd pack light. I'd throw in a couple of freeze-dried meals or whatever. My whole basis of that was to see if I could go on 10 items, like the Alone show used to, when it first started out 12, 13 years ago, something to that effect. I would go out and just practice those and practice those and practice those. And I would do it to the point where, it was basically a self-created survival situation, where I'd head into the woods and practice. But that's how you get better at doing things like this, is by practice. And that was considered practice. But since then, I've grown up a lot. And, I didn't just start it 13 years ago. I did primitive camping my whole life before it was even really called primitive camping. Me and my brothers just thought it was camping, and then when TV shows started coming along and popularized it, what was the name of that one with Dual Survivor, I guess is the name of it. That come out, started really popularizing it, and then Survivor Man and of that nature really started popularizing the bushcraft and the primitive camping world and the survival world. And then TV just took it and ran with it, and then now all of a sudden survival, bushcraft, and camping is a hundreds of millions of dollars a year industry, if not in the billions already. And I did a video a while back explaining, it was like $700 million a year or something that survival brings in just in separate survival courses throughout the country. And that's the United States. That's not worldwide. That's not Australia and Europe and, countries of the such that do survival classes and stuff like that. They are, if you throw them in there, worldwide, it'd be in the billions. So everything that I would pack with me, I would make a gear list and I would make a packing list. I would write everything down that I wanted to take with me on this trip. And it looked great on paper, sounded great on paper. But by the time you got out into the woods on day 2, I'd feel the slump, and everybody's felt that slump where it's just, I don't have the energy today. I'm tired. I think I'm just going to sleep in a little bit. That's kind of like me this morning. Get a little lightheaded, a little slower to think. Common tasks aggravate you. All the such. That's all sign that's, you're not getting enough calories. You're not giving your body enough energy that it needs to do the tasks that you need to do. And what's worse, when you're tired and hungry, you start making mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you stop thinking clearly and you start taking shortcuts. And that's when injuries start happening. And that's why calories are very important when you get into the field and when you get into your primitive camping mode. It's fall. It's fall, y'all. And everybody's going to be out camping fall and early winter, stuff like that. I mean, it is camping season, full swing camping season, and then early spring is full swing camping season again. And people do camping different. Some people will do what they call primitive camping at a pre-built campsite at a national park or a state park or a national forest or something of the such, or private lands. And it's an already developed campsite that has the fire rings and has electrical hookups and has all this stuff, you know. And then they got the ones that are primitive camping where it has no electricity but still has the pad there for you to build your tent on or whatnot, and the fire ring for you to go build your fire. So I took a trip one time, and I thought I had all my meals dialed in, and it was me and my brother once again, and we get out there, and dude, we were drained. And I think I've talked about this trip before on this podcast, is we were drained by a couple of days into it. We just, headache, just tired, lethargic, just didn't feel right. And I'd actually packed a little bitty tube of peanut butter, and I was using that peanut butter to see if I could trap a squirrel or two, during squirrel season. And yeah, no, that didn't work out. So I ate the peanut butter, and dude, instantly, I feel better. I mean, that peanut butter just snapped me too. Well, come to find out, peanut butter's got all the fats, all the sugars, all the proteins. It's got everything you need. Peanuts are almost a perfect food. Peanuts and sunflower seeds, if I recall. Sunflower seeds are a nearly perfect food. In other words, you can eat just sunflower seeds and still gain weight and still have all the protein, fats, sugars, everything that you need. It is nearly perfect. But peanut butter is close to that as well. So I figured my food was going to last long enough on this trip, but it did not. I mean, I didn't account for both of us eating. And this was one trip that my brother only brought some beef jerky, I believe. We ended up eating the beef jerky and cooking it into the pot and rehydrating it and making it into a stew. But still, we didn't have everything that we needed, and we depleted all of our calories before, and then once you're on the downside and you're trying to make up for it, it's harder to recuperate. So something that people don't factor in, every step, every swing of the axe, every breath of cold air, it all costs energy. And the average person burns about 2,000 calories a day at home. Out here in the woods, in the great outdoors, you're looking at between 3,500 and 5,000 calories easy, because you are constantly moving. You are constantly doing something. You are constantly doing something usually labor intensive. I don't know why they call it relaxing, because there's nothing relaxing about going camping. Yeah, it is to me for some reason. But when you get out into the great outdoors, it's generally a lot of work. And if you're in rougher terrain, like let's say you're elk hunting or you're doing some kind of hunt over in the mountains, sheep hunting, stuff like that, and you're up in these hills, you're up in these mountains, and you're constantly climbing up and down and up and down. And dude, they don't go up just one hill and sit on that one hill. They'll go up one, down one, up one, down one, up one, and they'll 4 or 5 of them, and then sit there. And y'all ever watched the episodes of Meat Hunter where they're just constantly moving? Dude, that right there is like, wow, I'd be screaming on the first one up, like, my back hurts or my ankle hurts or I twisted something or whatever, But so when you're planning food for a trip, you're not planning for comfort, you're planning for survival efficiency. You're trying to match what you burn. That's the goal. Actually, you're trying to do a surplus. Now, I watched a video with Clay Hayes a while back on YouTube where he got dropped off for a week or two for an elk hunt or a moose hunt or something in Alaska. and they just dropped him off in this bog. And he was on a river, on the edge of a riverbank, and he camped out there, and all he brought was some freeze-dried meals. And he didn't catch it. He didn't shoot anything for a week, and he had to go into survival mode because his freeze-dried meals were only giving him like 700 calories a day, but he was expending several thousand calories a day. So instead of packing 2 meals or snacks, I now plan food by the calorie count, So I pack 120 calories per ounce of weight if possible. Good old H2O. So things like peanut butter, nuts, a little bit of olive oil, some granola or jerky, all high calorie and small, and they actually help with balancing out all your calories. And then you add your carbs and your other proteins of the such, and that actually keeps you going. Now, since I now own the the freeze dryers, I'm able to make extremely calorie dense foods and take them with me at an extremely lightweight. Like one meal could be less than 3 ounces. And by the time you rehydrate it, it is well over a pound. And dude, they have so many calories in these. Like, let's take large lima beans, the big old white beans we call down here in South Mississippi. And you add some ham in with that. Now, these ain't going to last 10 or 15 years, but they are extremely calorie dense. Now, here's the thing for the people that are listening right now and then just scroll on. If you are interested in some type of food that you typically do not get on the shelves, let me know. I will cook it for you. I will freeze dry it for you, and I will ship it to you. Now, that's a little tidbit. That's an Easter egg inside of the show. And if you actually heard that and you want something specific, I will do small batch runs of whatever item you request to do. Now, you have to give me a little bit of lead time to be able to cook it or whatnot. Or if there's something the way you want it done, you send me your recipe and I'll cook it that way and we'll work it out. I am able to make 25 meals per batch. 25 meals per batch. That's making a large pot of whatever. Now, I could do this and send it off to you. And I was thinking about doing this in small batches and just offering like, hey, this week I have 25 batches of white beans. And first come, first serve. You want all 25? I'll work a deal with you and send those out. Or this week, hey, I did 25 batches of red beans or 50 batches of red beans. Send it out. Hey, this week I did a pot roast. And I did pot roast potatoes, carrots, and celery. And I got 10 batches of that. And that's what I'm thinking about doing. And just offering stuff that you really can't get in the stores. Every bit of it is home-cooked meals prepared right at my restaurant. And then freeze-dried. And once it's freeze dried, it lasts. Now, if it's got a lot of high fat content in it, like if it is a meat with a lot of fat in it or anything like that, you're going to want to eat it, 6 months to a year, something to that effect, or within 2 years. But anything after that, with less fat in there, can go up to 10, 20, 30 years. You look at some of these freeze-dried meals on the shelves at like Walmart or, any of your outdoor sports warehouses and, stuff to that effect. They last up to 30 years, but they have all the preservatives in it. The stuff I'm offering is straight, fresh cooked, freeze-dried meals straight from a commercial kitchen and thrown into the freeze dryer and shipped straight to you. That's what I'm offering. That's what I'm going to be doing from here on out. So customized. So we'll see how this works out. I'll throw a label on there, Primitive Camping Rations, and I'll put your food on there and ship it out to you, So Yeah. Anyway, that was a tangent. So instead of packing 2 meals or snacks, I now plan for calories. You know, you pack 120 calories per ounce of weight if possible. Yeah, that's a lot of calories. So if I'm 200 pounds, then I'm looking at, I don't know, lots of calories. I typically try to pack between 5,000 and 6,000 calories a day. Now, do I eat all that all the time? No. If I'm very hungry and I'm very worn down, yes. So if I know that it's a trip where I'll be hiking a lot, I'll add more quick little bites. And, freeze-dried meals, you can freeze-dry anything. And that's why I stepped out, and that's why I bought the freeze dryers, because you could do almost anything. And you can almost preserve. The only thing you can't preserve really is peanut butter. And I'm going to figure out a way. I don't know how they make the peanut butter powder, but I'm going to figure out how to do that. And then that's an option too, is making peanut butter powder. So here's a couple of little tips about, I guess, like four little pointers. All right. Let me give you 4 little pointers about food. Number 1 is don't trust how hungry you feel. And we're going to go back through. I'm just going to read them all out too. Number 2, fat is your friend. I know that goes against anything and everything you've ever heard whenever you're dieting and stuff like that. Fat is your friend. Number 3, rotate your meals. Number 4, always bring one emergency meal that you don't plan to eat. Bring something else, one extra meal, just in case. All right, now let's go back. Let's start at the beginning. Why? All right, so number 1, don't trust how hungry you feel. Outdoors, adrenaline is going to mask your hunger. So you might not feel hungry until it's too late. So here is a valuable asset, and I wish I would have put this in the book, but I did not. But eat by the clock, not by your stomach. Eat by the clock. If it's 12 o'clock, eat. As soon as you wake up, eat. If it is 5 o'clock, eat. Eat on a schedule. When you go camping, eat on a schedule. Number 2, fat is your friend. People think proteins. People always think about proteins, but in cold weather and long treks, fat gives you more calories per ounce than anything else. Butter, oils, nuts, they keep you alive when carbs won't cut it. Carbs are going to burn off faster. Now, here's a thing that I watched. People getting ready to go on TV shows like Naked and Afraid, Alone. Those type things would drink olive oil every day, and they would put on the weight. Olive oil will actually put weight on you. I'm not saying it's healthy, but in the event of, bring some olive oil. You can have a shot of olive oil, and it will actually give you a boost of energy, believe it or not. Number 3, rotate your meals. If you're doing a long trip, don't eat the same meal every day. And I have a story for this. I was deployed in Alaska. We were deployed to a bombing range. It sounds weird. We went out, and I hope I can talk about this. I believe I can. But we went out to a bombing range to collect unexploded ordnance. And I was the medic, and I was with a bunch of EOD guys. And they paid us X amount of dollars per day to be in the field, plus our regular pay. So we got a per diem. And boy, was it big. It was the first time here I was 20 something years old, and it was the most money I think I've ever seen in a paycheck. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, man, they're going to pay us X amount of dollars a day times 21. They said prepare for 21 to 30 days. And I was like, golly, that's a lot of money. I could do this. I can eat ramen noodles, green beans, and corn every day for 30 days. So I went down to the commissary on base, and I bought 30 days worth of the ramen noodles 3 times a day, green beans and corn. I don't eat ramen noodles anymore. I haven't eaten ramen noodles since that trip. I ate ramen noodles every day for 21 days, and I was thanking God that we got done on the 21st day. I was sick of eating ramen noodles and green beans and corn. I still eat green beans and I still eat corn, but I was sick of chicken-flavored ramen noodles. I don't think I will ever eat a chicken-flavored ramen noodle again. That was horrible. So rotate your meals. Mix up the flavors. Mix up the textures. It keeps your morale high, and it keeps you from just, I don't even know, you know, you see these videos of these babies all the time getting fed whatever, a Brussels sprout. That's one thing for me. A Brussels sprout. Give me a Brussels sprout, and I'm like, and I'm wanting to vomit all over the place. So number 4, always bring one emergency meal. And I suggest that this meal be something, get you an MRE. Order you an MRE online and use that as your emergency backup. Because MREs they're each one's different, but most of them are at least 2,000 calories. Some of them are up to 2,500 calories. If you eat everything in that pack. Now, if you're very hungry and you're going through a bunch of stuff, you will eat everything in that pack. So preparation isn't just packing your food. It's about being ready for what's coming. Out when you're camping, you can't afford to assume that tomorrow is going to be easy, that you're going to be able to catch that fish or shoot a deer or catch you some squirrels, shoot some squirrels, or, you know, whatever, if you're hunting. So you always have to assume you cannot assume tomorrow will be easy. You have to think ahead. And that principle runs all through history, even in the Bible. It runs all through history. Yeah, I mean, you look at the man Joseph in the Bible. He didn't just wake up one day and say, let's build barns. He saw what was coming. God gave him wisdom to prepare during the years of plenty for the famine that was on the way. He didn't panic. He planned. There's another one. A lot of people cast doubt on this, and they throw this out there. Noah. It's the same thing. God said the storm was coming, and Noah listened, and Noah built everything. He didn't argue. He didn't wait for the first raindrop to start building this boat. He worked while everything else and everybody else laughed. The ark didn't just carry animals, it carried obedience. Now, I'm not trying to preach a sermon here, but those stories make me think about the balance between trust and preparation. In the woods, we prepare. We plan for cold nights, bad weather, and long hikes. But in life, sometimes we forget to prepare spiritually or mentally the same way. It's easy to say, I'll handle it when it comes, but that's not how Joseph made it through the famine, and that's not how Noah made it through the flood. God gave both of them time, and they used that time wisely. So, when I'm packing food now, I think about that balance, the wisdom and the faith, that you've got to be prepared like Joseph was, but trust like the Israelites collecting manna. They could go around collecting this manna off the rocks and off the ground and stuff like that and eating it. Some days God says, store it. Some days he said, trust me for today. And that's the hardest part of our faith. It's not always one or the other. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes there's plenty. Sometimes there's not. So, if you look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 11, and this is the model prayer that Jesus gave us to pray. And in here, verse 11, it says, give us this day our daily bread. And I don't care if you have been to church all your life or not been to church all your life, there is a reason that is in there. Over the years, it's hit me a lot different. And when you're out camping or whatnot, and you're sitting by the fire after a long day, your food means more. You feel it. You appreciate it. You taste it. You know what it's like to really depend on what is going in your mouth, going in your stomach. When it comes to that verse, and I'm not cherry picking the verses here, but there's a reason why that one's there. Jesus wasn't just talking about food. He was talking about our daily dependence. Give us this day our daily bread. He was reminding us that God gives us enough for today. Not all at once, not for weeks ahead, but for today. And that's where it ties back into the woods. You can prepare your meals, plan your calories, but you can't predict every storm, every delay, every mishap, every twisted ankle, every injury. It's the same thing in life. Sometimes he puts you in a Joseph season. He gives you time to prepare. He gives you time to store it up, to get things right for what's coming. Other times he puts you like Elijah, waiting by a dried up creek or brook, wondering where your next meal's coming from, and then suddenly the ravens show up and they give you your food. It shows up in ways you didn't expect it. Then there are the manna days where you wake up and what you need is waiting for you, but only for today, just enough for that day. You can't hoard it. You can't save it. You just have to trust it'll be there again tomorrow. Wow. Each one of these stories, Joseph, Noah, Elijah, the manna, it's the same truth from different angles. God provides. Sometimes he provides through your preparation, and sometimes he provides in spite of your lack. So the takeaway, prepare wisely. When you're heading out into the great outdoors, prepare wisely. Take what you need, but trust completely. Pack your meals like Joseph would, but live like Israel did, expecting tomorrow's bread will show up again. Now, don't confuse what I just said with disobedience. Don't live like them as far as disobedience. So, that's where we're going to leave it for today. If this episode stirred something in you, or you got to thinking a little deeper about how physical preparation or spiritual dependence, go ahead and share it with somebody else. If you enjoyed what you hear or whatnot, let me know. Leave a comment on the whatever site you're listening to it on, or if you're watching it on YouTube or whatnot. I don't have a very big audience on YouTube. I got a bigger audience on listening to the actual podcast. So there, I do appreciate you guys. But remember what I said in the middle of this podcast. I will be doing short runs of the actual freeze-dried meals specifically for people if you wish. And just get in touch with me. And my email address will be listed underneath this in the show notes. And whenever I switch over to the new website, primitivecamping.com, I will shift the email address as well. So anyway, until next time, remember, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. I'll see you next time. God bless you.
Thanks for sitting around the fire with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, if it helped you feel a little bit more prepared, or it even stirred your faith a tiny bit, go ahead and share it with someone else who might need it as well. We don't go camping to run away from life. We come out here to slow down and recharge. So grab another log, throw it on the fire, and remember this: in all your ways, acknowledge him, and He will direct your path. I'll see you next time. God bless you.